And welcome to the East County Sports Report for Thursday, November 7th, our preview day for the San Diego Section CIF first round playoffs on Friday, November 8th. It's playoff time, Dave, and we've got 11 teams from the East County in the postseason. 6 this week as the playoffs get underway with the first round. We have 5 teams actually on bye, 4 and 11-man football, and Foothills Christian and 8-man football, where they're probably on a collision course with St. Joseph Academy. But Dave, we're going to talk the 6 matchups here this week. We'll touch on those teams on a bye as well, let you know what games to keep an eye on throughout the county as we wait for those matchups for next week. But we've got some great matchups. Are you ready for the postseason? What are your top storylines maybe here? I imagine it's going to circle around the Eagles here, certainly, but can't help but think about these. Some of these matchups are really great.
It's going to be interesting on what Steel Canyon can pull off, I think, and who they're facing. Believe it was Escondido, and we'll take our shot at the controversial Fallbrook and Monte Vista with a winless team and a 5-5 team. That's crazy.
That was the best part about it, Dave. Remember, I'll tell you real quick right now before I let you finish your thought on the storylines, but Monte Vista was on the outside looking in of the postseason, and only the fact that they were actually going to be bumped from a team that was going to be put into the postseason because of a conference championship, but also a team backed out of the playoffs, and Monte Vista actually ended up, in the postseason here. So go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that is funny about that because we talked about how they were on the bubble when they played their last game anyway, and how crazy that game was within itself. And then we can look ahead. We do have those buys, but I think Granite Hills will probably be still standing at the very end of the playoffs. But it's a shame that we're not in the open division, though. None of our teams were, and I think it all goes back to maybe some of the play Granite Hills in the Perry game loss, and then the way that they started the first half against Grossmont last week. That didn't fare too well for them for your computers, and for me too. I thought they stood a chance to lose that game in the first half. Grossmont could have taken that thing, and on their field, no less. I really think that Santana has the upper hand when it comes to the Kearney Comets. We saw how close Monte Vista played them, and with that being said, and then the Santana and Monte Vista, Santana taking over and beating them. I think Santana wins that, but we'll get into all of it. But I definitely think Santana will be definitely standing at the end of this week. I think that Monte Vista has an outside shot, just because the way they play and playing hard, tough from the trenches, hard-nosed football. Like it should be played. And then we got Christian's on a bye as well. After their big wins, especially over San Diego, and then notably really rolling over Morse. But which ones do you highlight?
Well, like you, Dave, I'm looking forward to those teams getting involved next week. Your Eagles, my Highlanders got a bye, believe it or not, despite that record. But again, they're in Division 2. The Eagles are in Division 3. You mentioned the Open Division. So this might be our coverage of the Open Division. It is actually next week. It'll be Cathedral and La Costa and Mission Hills, Dave, against Lincoln. So, none of our teams are in there, but I'm looking forward to when those teams get involved. And Dave, here's the thing. We were on the show there live on last Friday night, right? I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just looking at those computer rankings that I happen to respect. I know you give me the business, and I don't mind. I'll try to defend the computer rankings as I did this week. But there's a lot of people like you, Dave, that don't want those maybe computers involved. Not saying you want to sit around 3.5-hour meetings. There've got to be better solutions, maybe, because of what happened this week with the rating system. Actually, I'll get to it in a little bit, Dave. But the folks that created the rating system had some just disagreement with the San Diego section and said they're not even going to post separate San Diego section ratings because they feel like the powers that be at the San Diego section, maybe it's Joe Hines, maybe it's all the coaches, leader coaches, if you will, a little bit, whoever came together to decide in the beginning. I'm sure it was the groups at CIF, but remember, we said we're not going to do divisions this year in San Diego. We're going to go divisions at the end of the season. And I don't think the people that make the ratings, remember I said a couple of weeks ago that they went on strike, actually, because they weren't getting paid by CBS. Max Preps is owned by CBS. Max Preps was paying Cal Preps to provide these services. It's a good computer, man. I think the ratings are right on. But when I went on social media this week to say, hey, maybe these guys should go back on strike and just, what point is it? You guys got paid? We didn't. Just send us the broth. We'll make the soup. Just send us the broth. And it's almost like now they feel so maligned or feel like they've been disrespected with their rating system, the way the San Diego section has broken down. There were some top influencers on social media, people who have accomplished far more than I here, even though this is kind of the pinnacle of my career here, sitting with you, Dave, talking high school football. But they were quick to criticize me and say, Roman, you might be wrong on that. Maybe we can figure out a better system down here. I've defended the computers. I think we've got some great matchups. I don't know what you're trying to figure out, because really you can only win the championship of championships here. And other than that, we actually have a Division I tournament, a Division II tournament, a Division III tournament, a Division IV tournament, a Division V tournament, and 2 other tournaments among like teams. And we didn't group them together, so there's less chance of being playoff blowouts a little bit. So we cut the cake, right? You just sent it to us. So I really don't have much respect for those folks right now at Cal Preps, because we've already seen drama with them not getting paid. Nobody likes not to get paid. Sure, they just, maybe Max Preps has been, problems with money with whatever it is. Maybe they just didn't pay the invoice promptly and said, hey, these guys are going to provide their rankings no matter what. Well, there are some other places that do rankings out there that the section can go to. There's Nolan Pari in Nevada. You could go to the Massey ratings. I always like to refer to the Massey ratings as well when I talk about the other computers, and sometimes they're just as accurate, if sometimes not more accurate. So, all right, Dave, I went on my rant right now. I accept all the heat that I got online for trying to defend the computers this week, even though I told Cal Preps basically, go take a hike, go back on strike. We don't want to hear from you. We'll do what we want with the ratings, but I think those influencers maybe are, maybe they have some buddies there or something. Maybe that's how all this gets baked in the cake with these ratings a little bit. We saw comments from some of the coaches on social media wondering if it is still the right option here. Maybe they like to win championships. All right. Let's get started, Dave, with our report sponsored by Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment. Thank you to those guys all season long here. Going to roll in the playoffs with them sponsoring our podcast this season. All right, Dave, we're going to pick the matchups here, Dave, and go to Division I with, well, coaches that like to win championships here. What a matchup this is, Dave, with Santa Fe Christian here on the road, taking on Mount Miguel in this one. They always say, Dave, that I don't know if they always say it. It's kind of like the college basketball tournament, but I did hear some of those influencers this week talking, maybe the cool influencers, talking this week about, well, when you get 12 versus 5, sometimes you can get an upset.
Yeah, and I think this one we could definitely see that happen. Let's look at. I mean, I know your computers and what they put together in their formula, but I still respect the fact of an upset. And on any given, we'll just say for this our podcast, any given Friday, number 12 that we're looking at right there, Santa Fe Christian, they played a pretty strong strength of schedule, and Matt McGill did somewhat. But there were some teams too that they just ran over, and there was no competition whatsoever. Not trying to take anything away from Mount McGill, but I really I have to respect their opponent that is coming to their home field, and I would hope also that coach would not get too comfortable and is telling his guys too, let's lock and load and let's defend our field because this team coming down here is just as good as we are.
No doubt about it. The Coastal Champs come in here having won 8 straight. Yeah, we're familiar with Santa Fe Christian. We get a look at them pretty much every year against the Christian Patriots, who play in Division II on Friday night. For Santa Fe Christian, they've won 8 straight. Their only loss this season was to Oceanside. They run the ball at a 2-to-1 ratio. They have a quarterback with 18 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions this season. They beat the Christian Patriots, remember, Dave, at Granite Hills High, 21-6 earlier this season. Maybe that was early in the year. Remember, that was in week 3. But no doubt, Santa Fe, remember I said that in that series, I always see the road team win anyway. So that means that the Eagles can travel, though, here certainly. And they are a great program with a great tradition, championship tradition, certainly at Santa Fe Christian. For Mount McGill, this is almost new territory a little bit. Yeah, they won the championship last year, rolling through Division IV. But with this format that we've all decided on here, I think anyway, whether they are mad about it now or whatever, I was defending the computer. Said, look at this. We've got a great tournament. Every matchup we're going to tell you about here, Dave, is competitive. There's not going to, I guess there is going to be possibility of, 56-14 somewhere out there, but it doesn't feel like it. Not with this game. This seems like a thriller. Mount McGill, the only losses, yeah, Dave, you mentioned it. They rolled through maybe some easier opponents. They stepped up their schedule here too. They knew they were getting better. So their only losses were the Loyola Cubs of Los Angeles. Remember, they were competitive in that game, and the Granite Hills game. So with Mount McGill, they have all that talent here, but we have seen little bumps in the road as far as the other teams being competitive. I think, if anything, I overrated Mount McGill at the beginning of the season here. I'll take Mount McGill to win this game. Certainly the winner will play at El Camino here, but home field advantage might be good enough for me when you lose to Granite Hills and you lose your out-of-section game. I still think they put up a terrific season here so far, but the computers, Dave, have Mount McGill winning this one by 7. Maybe they should win by 7. I have a feeling maybe it could be a thriller. Maybe we get something late. It feels like all these games could come down to the last possession. I guess 7 is the last possession to a certain extent. Can I get you on the Matadors, though, Dave, even though the Eagles come in here looking pretty great?
I'm going to go opposite with an 8-game winning streak. And it was early in the season with the Christian team. They didn't even have the same quarterback at the time. Runkle was not in there. But even being able to play with Oceanside and roll with them, I'm going to, you know what? They always have to have an upset, and I'm going to take the Eagles in this one by 7.
All right. Yeah, they've been very, very efficient this year. Have the Coastal League champs. They come in here on Friday night. It's going to be a great one. Really one of the top matchups of the night in the county. Santa Fe Christian at Mount McGill. So all these games are good, Dave. Look at this one. In Division II, can you believe it, Dave? At Granite Hills High School on Friday night as 9-1 Imperial come in here. We have questions sometimes. You and I, the East County, right? We follow the Imperial Valley League a little more maybe than others, right? And we've seen Imperial Valley League teams slowly edging up the standings. There's a pretty big difference between the powers in the Imperial Valley and the lesser teams. So they all have ended up with really outstanding records here, like Imperial. Their only loss was to Brawley, who was the Imperial Valley champs. So Imperial comes in, maybe not ranked as high as Brawley here, but these Imperial Valley teams had a great season. The Tigers are pretty strong here, but Dave, you don't need me to set it up. 6-game winning streak, the Christian defense allowing just 10 points per game. We want to talk about their offense, but I think we have been doing them. We have been doing a disservice. We've been trying to feature this defense by interviewing those stars here for several weeks now on the Patriots, Dave. This defense is Imperial presents a very, very formidable challenge. I have a feeling this one's going to be a thriller as well. But, man, the Christian defense, I got to feel like they're going to be the ones that are going to determine this game in the end, Dave.
So you don't think with the Imperial coming in here that Runkle's going to be able to run around like he usually does and just fire them off at random?
Ooh, it feels like this. This is look at this, Dave. Here's, I don't know, maybe this is the problem with this. Is the 8-9 matchup in Division II. You got a 1-loss team against a 2-loss team. There's some other pretty good teams in Division II. We've talked. I mean, Helix, like I said, had a bye. Helix plays the winner of Madison at La Jolla, so there are good teams. Setting up here. I guess a better than Imperial and Christian, but man, this just seems like an awesome matchup. This would have been a game that you might have seen in years past, maybe a Division III championship, Division IV, Division III maybe, but right now we're smack in the middle, the 8-9 game, Dave. That's supposed to be the closest of the games on opening night.
Well, and
6 on the computers, by the way. Those striking computers.
And Imperial knows us real well too, as they played the Wolfpack. I don't know how many times, and they've gone back and forth on wins as well. But those Imperial teams weren't quite as stout as this one here, as you mentioned. But I've seen so many crazy plays come out of these. Coach Bug over there at Christian has. He reminds me a little bit of Beezer, David Beezer, and his crazy plays too that he would come up with just to get the W. And boy, did they get! You mentioned it. I think it was about 2 weeks ago that Christian has won just about every league that's ever been out in the East County. Or anyhow.
I don't even know. I was saying because I don't even know if I think they've won the City League, but I mean they've won the Eastern League, right? They've won other leagues in that city conference. So Harbor League, remember the Harbor League? They always won the Harbor League. So they've won them all. Christian, over the years, as we've gotten older, Dave, through the years with Christian High, we've seen the program, it shows you, right? Here we are at Division II. The winner is going to face number 1 UC in the top of the number 1 ranked, number 1 seeded University City High. And, that's a team we're kind of getting familiar with. We've seen them certainly a little bit play our teams as well. But we remember when Christian was just a little guy who's succeeding among, similar ilk and just always playing a little bit above, growing. And as much as the Shadow Mountain campus has grown, so have the Patriots. So this is a pretty good game when Imperial comes in.
Yeah, they definitely planted some good seeds. I'm gonna have to go with our Patriots, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be by a field goal.
I'll go right with you, Dave. I don't know if they could, quote unquote, cover 6 points in this one. You got to think Imperial's going to come in here and has a pretty interesting shot to win this game. 9-1 for the Tigers coming into this one, Dave. Their only loss, as I said, was to Brawley. It cost them the league title. They were at home in that game. They lost by 21, should note, in that one, but still Imperial, this is a strong program right now, Dave, and Christian will have to try to stop the Tigers. They have a very strong defense, but they have a senior quarterback with 26 touchdown passes this season. They have a freshman running back with over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, and they have I think near about half a dozen receivers with at least a couple of touchdown receptions this season. So this will be an awesome game here. I love the leadership of Runkle, the kids we've talked to this season. We always get a good show with Christian here, and we'll be looking forward, hopefully, to talking with the guys this week after the game at Granite Hills here against Imperial. Dave, this is going to be an awesome game here in Division II.
And let's not forget that just like the Granite Hills Eagles packed that stadium, that'll be full of Patriot fans.
All right, we've got another one here with Steel Canyon in Division III here, Dave. I'll tell you what, I got to go with the Cougars in this one, Dave, as the Escondido Cougars host the Steel Canyon Cougars this week in Division III. Steel Canyon comes in. They're the 4-6 Cougars. 6-4 Cougars are Escondido. Steel Canyon, Dave's lost 5 straight games, and they've allowed an average of 49 points per game in those 5 games. They got into the shootout with Grossmont. They definitely were up against the Eagles. They ended up giving up big points against the Highlanders even here. So Steel Canyon, even though yes, maybe the team was, I don't know, I just expected this talent to be a little better and more competitive in those league games here right now. But look at these totals they've given up, Dave. 39 to Granite, and these are in the league games. 60 to Grossmont, 57 to Mount Miguel, and 62 to Helix. They are 16-point underdogs here in this one against the Escondido Cougars. This is going to be a tall order. It feels like we've seen Steel Canyon go on the road and do some things before in the postseason. But man, this one feels a little bit tough, and it's been a while since I've seen them do that. But I can think of, going back and winning some games on the road in the playoffs. Think of that year.
Back to the Fishburne.
Yeah, beating the Eagles. They beat Ramona. They beat they beat Bishops, and they beat the Eagles. That was pre-pandemic, though.
Yeah, well, I think that this is definitely a Steel Canyon team. Unfortunately, I think they can get the win, but it's not going to come from the defense. The offense is going to have to put up they're going to have to outscore Escondido. And
they're not stopping teams. Man, this is.
So with that being said, lack of defense and it seems to me that they're on the rise. They're allowing more points each game on average. So it's tough to take Steel Canyon, and then going on the road, I'm unfortunately going to have to say I'm going to take Escondido by 7 and maybe more.
Okay, yeah, no, I got to give Steel Canyon a chance to stay within 2 touchdowns. Is what I really want to say here in this one. Could argue, Dave, a little bit, right? That maybe the East County is better than expected or anticipated here when we play, right? So to me, it just feels like with Steel Canyon right now and the East County, look at where our teams have ended up, Dave. Last year we were saying, hey, we were talking it up. We were saying, hey, East County, big year. Right now, it feels like I don't think we lived up to expectations. Quite frankly, this season. So I'm talking in general. And I think that's why, not getting our team into the open division, and you see where these other teams are. Steel Canyon. Remember, I said last week, this is what I was going to say. I didn't finish the thought. We were on Friday. We did pick, I think we got it exactly right with the playoffs, except for Monte Vista, I said was going to be out, but we didn't know one team was going to drop out of the playoffs. Monte Vista is basically the last team into the 5-division format. So we got it all right. What team was going to be in what division, kind of where they were going to be seated. We were right on. We got it, not one thing wrong here, but in turn, it does set up here Steel Canyon on the road at number 11, whereas in Division 4, where we don't have anybody, they would have been a contender to win it all. So I don't know. Maybe that's where some teams want to be, and they think it's just tougher to win these little tournaments. Like I said, Dave, this is just they're just tournaments. You're not winning it all. So I don't know what everybody's hot and bothered about. Anyways, Dave, the Cougars here come in to the winner will play number 3 San Diego coming into this. For the Cougars, they are pretty much split 50-50 with their run pass game. They have a sophomore quarterback who threw for 24 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this season. And they have a running game that produced about 120 yards per game this season. I'm going to take the Cougars here by a touch. I'm going to take the Escondido Cougars, Dave, by a touchdown. But I know the Cougars, no matter what, are going to win.
I'm going to have to say the same. They're leaving or allowing too many points. You got to make some stops.
All right, we'll move on. Want to say, because we got no one in Division 4 this week. So we mentioned Helix, Dave. I'll just wrap that up. I'm sorry I left that behind. But Madison at La Jolla, the winner will play Helix in Division 2. In Division 1, your Eagles will play the winner of the Falcons against the Falcons. How about that? Scripps Ranch at Torrey Pines will play at Granite Hills, the winner of that game. Torrey Pines at home, probably expected to win. Scripps Ranch has had a great season until they tasted defeat at the end here. So the Eagles will host, we know they'll host a team called the Falcons, and Torrey Pines a slight favorite there, but man, that feels like a real close game. Torrey Pines certainly has a history. They're at home. And in Division 4, Dave, it will be Grossmont hosting the winner of Sweetwater or Mira Mesa. Doesn't that sound like a lot of fun? We already saw Grossmont and Mira Mesa play one of the games of the season. It felt like, remember that game, Grossmont at Mira Mesa, so that'd be a rematch. And Sweetwater presents its own set of challenges, but Sweetwater has kind of tumbled from, we saw them earlier in the season, and I had higher expectations. So they ended up in Division 4. I would expect Mira Mesa to win. Also, El Capitan will take on one of these two teams that we saw, both these teams, Classical Academy at Chula Vista, with the winner playing at El Capitan. Now we could see El Capitan and Chula Vista here, Dave, in Division 4. So anything here, Dave, on these your Eagles, my Highlanders, the Division 4 games before? Division 5 is going to take a few minutes here. It's almost the East County Invitational. 3 of the 4 games this weekend are in Division 5 involving our teams.
Yeah, I would just say that either one of those Falcon teams, if Granite Hills plays, hey, sorry to say this, if they play any way, if they play like they did in the first half of last week's game, they will lose to either one of those teams, and they will lose their first game of the playoffs. The first round, they will be done. So I hope right now that's exactly what's being pounded into, and I know he is. Kellen Cobbs is saying, we're out of this. We lose. So they do have the defense and they have the offense. What happened last week was just incredible. And it was it was the story of 2 halves. It really was. It's like they fell asleep. Here's my thing. Why were we not pounding the ball when we had the most success? I'm not the coach of and I'm not criticizing. You know what, Coach Cobbs, I'm not criticizing you at all. I was just wondering why we weren't running the ball when we have so much success with running the ball. And even when we were switching up our running back to our main guy, we also have 2, I would say 2 other guys, but we definitely have 2 guys that are capable of making that happen. And then let's do some play action. I think if they do that, and that kind of game plan, they can beat either of those teams handily.
And give credit to Grossmont, though. I know we're rehashing that game a little bit, Dave, but they have ended up with some of the leading offensive performers this season in the state of California, really, with and you've been talking about them all year with Noah Walker and Vanderberg and, of course, Tommy Donovan. These guys lit it up. And here they are. We talk about, right, light competition. If anything, right, Grossmont, they were the, they're the, they had a good season in the Grossmont Hills League. It's just the defense, uh, pauses for concern. But again, when you're playing the likes of Granite Hills, Helix, and the games that they got involved with, now all of a sudden Grossmont's down here with some teams. They can beat both those teams at home. But other thing was interesting to me, Dave, could be a rematch. Chula Vista at El Cap. Remember, the final of that one was 35-21. Chula Vista, remember, got that win back in week 3 over El Cap. And El Cap's looking pretty good. Like, maybe, just maybe, that defense has changed. That was their worst defensive performance of the season. Remember, they just whipped through the last 4 weeks here, giving up just 7 points in 4 games against Valhalla, Santana, West Hills, and the Braves. They allowed, in the first 4 weeks of the season, they beat Mira Mesa, by the way. El Cap did, don't forget, 21-14, and Grossmont played Mira Mesa as well. So interesting action there, Dave, for sure. Coming up.
Well, and you got to give it, like you said, and I think it comes from their head coach. I mean, how many times do you see Grossmont throw the ball? Look at the receivers they have, the depth they have in the passing game. I think it's not only the defense with Grossmont. I think that I just think we need to find a way to run the ball once in a while, because I don't really think Tommy Donovan is no offense to him, because he's got one of the greatest arms in the East County, but he doesn't have those legs like some of these quarterbacks that are out there. But I have nothing to say. Hey, when it comes to the Foothillers, I mean, that's my father's alma mater.
Hey, you get your money's worth when you buy a ticket to the Foothillers games, Dave, for sure.
I mean, especially if they're at home, you get the announcer, you get the coach, you get the family there. But anyhow, and then you were touching on Helix. They were a really weird team this year.
Yeah, they'll be okay in that. Madison at La Jolla, I would think either team will come in there and give the Highlanders. It does seem like they play better here down the stretch. Chet Gottlieb has come in and done a terrific job, Dave, at quarterback here. They've gone through a series of quarterbacks, but Gottlieb here has landed as the quarterback for the last 3 or 4 games of the season. I think what happened was he was kind of a touted prospect for the Highlanders a little bit as a maybe a freshman player or JV. I'm not sure the full story. Took a couple of years, did not play, just decided to come help the team out. He's looked pretty good. You wonder if they had him all season, if they would have had a chance here, because he's a senior and he looks the part, and he's going to give Helix a more formidable chance here. And the thing with Grossmont in the offense, Dave, you see it. You don't have to be old, whatever we are, analysts, whatever. Anybody who watches football, you watch it enough, and you keep your defense out there on the field more than you are out there on the field on offense because of your, extremely prolific scoring. Then that's where it is going to be a problem. Even the best defenses will be wilted for a certain extent. So I don't want to put any, I think they already feel a little pressure defensively, those players on Grossmont, but they know they're just one big play away from making the difference in one of those games, because, all you got to do is get that one key play, that one key takeaway, and that tie game can become a 14-point game with the 2 possessions. So, all right, that's going to be awesome next week. Okay, here we go, Dave. Division 5 is the East County Invitational here this week, the Grossmont Conference Invitational. It'll be Brody Stump and the Kearney Comets with one of the most prolific passing games in the entire county, coming in to take on a pretty good defense in Santana here, Dave. I need to clean up a little bit here last week. I think for Santana, Dave, maybe I was just missing the numbers a little bit. Remember, I was questioning what I was seeing there last week, but Santana in the game against West Hills. You see the Wolfpack behind me, Dave, holding the mayor's trophy. We'll talk about the Wolfpack here in just a moment. It was Santana though, Dave, that did win the game last week against West Hills. It was 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. It was a great game. Santana had a block punt and a pass for a touchdown. They had a complete effort against West Hills, and what turned out to be a pretty convincing win for West Hills last week. But Santana still here, Dave, earns the number 7 seed and will host Kearney here this week. The winner will be at number 2 number 2 Bonita Vista next week. The computers actually have Kearney in this one here, Dave, by 1 point, but Santana's the higher seed. Somehow they have the home field edge here, so I don't know how these computers actually work to get that like that, but Kearney is actually the favorite by those very same computers that have made Santana here the number 7 seed. So maybe those guys were right to blast me on the internet. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Help.
Well, I will say that I think it makes complete sense looking at the numbers here. You're saying you got a prolific passer for Kearney, but I think that Santana defense is stout. I don't think that they haven't had any games really. I mean, a couple, but they haven't been having a ton of blowouts or high scoring teams against their defense. And you know what? They put up their own scores just very easily. And it's a lot of it's coming from their senior leadership.
Yeah, and so let me clean up my mess though a little bit, Dave. I was like, man, is that Caden Hallman taking snaps out there? Because I can't read a black number on a purple jersey. Of course, it was sophomore Ethan Miller with 3 touchdown passes last week. I think I quoted one of them as being Hallman taking a direct snap and throwing a pass, and that was not the case here, but it was touchdown receptions, as I said, by Noah Quaylen. Denton Gore had a touchdown reception, and Tanner Stacks had a touchdown reception last week. So Santana threw 25 times. Hallman ran for just 31 yards. The Wolfpack won the game. Caleb Carnes has been doing a nice job too. He ran for 65 yards, including a 43-yard jaunt last week. But again, the Sultans ended up on the short end, 38-20 in the city championship last week. But still here, Santana does get West Hills does end up with a little bit higher seed. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but I'm just highlighting this one because it's the closer game. It's the 10-7 seed here, and like I said, Kearney here is a 1-point favorite. I'm going to take the Kearney. This quarterback that they have, Dave, he is a real for the level. He's I don't expect Stumps. I imagine he'll play some football, hopefully, in his future, because he really is a top passer with his statistics in the county. It's just, they face a little bit lower level, of course, of competition. That's why we're down here in Division 5, but he has had an absolutely terrific season here this season for Stump here this season. 3,400 yards passing, Dave. Really big numbers, 45 touchdowns, but 15 interceptions. And we know Santana has a good secondary.
Yeah, they're all youngsters, but as we said from the beginning of the year, they're going to be one of the better teams in that Valley League. El Capitan did end up on top. I was wrong on that, but not by too much. And here's my other thing with Kearney. You forget about, Monte Vista was on the bubble. And they're just getting in because somebody was out, okay? Right. But they almost beat the Comets, that same team that Santana's going to go play. Sure. And then what happened between the Monarchs and Santana?
For sure, Dave, and that's the big thing here. So it's going to be on some of those guys. We talk about Noah Quaylen. He's a top interceptor. He had an interception this season, but I know these guys, right? You got Thornton, you've got Denton Gore, you've got Quaylen. So I think these guys here can excel here this week and have a big week here against Stump. You know what's coming. against Stump. And don't forget, also the Sultans, maybe even more so, Dave, can get after the quarterback with Gillespie. Tell me if I'm saying his name. They corrected me when I said it last time. Might be Gillespie, but he's had an incredible year with 6 sacks. And of course, you have the freshman sensation, Julian Mayers, as well. So they have a really, really strong team, Dave, as far as getting to the quarterback here with these guys. And they're going to have to against Stump with these big numbers that he has here this week. And quite frankly, the Sultans are going to have to be successful. I mean, this is easy to say, but maybe even more successful than they usually are on offense. I think they need to step it up.
Well, I'll tell you this. They have, let's not forget, if it comes down to a really close nail biter, they got the better kicker also that can kick a very long field. I think he kicked a 43 or 44-yarder earlier this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Dave. They can get their production as well from their kicking game. It's been Johnson, 4 field goals this season. Grant Johnson, we talked to him. Remember after that big field goal he hit late in that one victory. So Kearney and Santana here. I'm taking the Comets. This player they have, he's pretty special. Hopefully the Sultans can slow him down a little bit. I just think I've heard so much about his numbers there. You heard them, Dave. I mean, those were 3,400 yards and 45 touchdowns, Dave. We only play 10 games. I don't have to explain it to anybody here. Even my Grossmont Union High School District math can figure out 4.5 touchdowns a game for Stump.
I'm going to have to disagree. And, after talking with Coach a little bit this week or earlier this week, they're really put him to the test, though. They're practicing hard, and they know how important this game is. And 1 and out, I mean, you're out of the tournament. But I think that they have the team to do it. I think even with the record they're coming in, they do have the higher seed. They are playing at home. Advantage Santana. I'm taking Santana by a field goal.
And remember, Dave, now with all the divisions kind of chopped up a little bit, right? So we're really kind of just in a thing where it's like all the best all the way down. And remember last year, or was it last year or the year before? I was like, oh, look, the division. I was like, oh, Division 2 is the East County Invitational. That, and then, oh, Division 3 is now it's Division 5. So that's what I'm saying about, each division has, Dave, 12 teams in it except for the open division. They took the top 60, let's see, I think there were 5 divisions and 64 teams, right, make the big playoffs. The other Division 5, they had their own little tournament that they all agreed that they were going to play in. If you ended up going into the top 64 and you said, no, we're going to be in the 5A division, then, or the 5A is what it's called. These are teams that elected not to play in any, for example, if a team, I don't think they did, but if one of the Division 5A teams would have finished, say, ahead of Monte Vista, they still are in the Division 5A. They had already agreed to play their own championship among their 8 teams, I think it is, before the season. Maybe 2 teams didn't make it or something like that, but they had their own division, were not eligible for the top 5 divisions and the open division. So that's also how a few things worked out. Okay, hopefully I'm making sense to everyone. Mar Vista will be at West Hills, Dave. Yeah, West Hills, they earned a home game here. They are basically 3 touchdown favorites against Mar Vista coming in here. So it does go to show you that, better seed, higher ranking here. So pretty good situation for West Hills. And look, they're definitely coming off a pretty strong game last week. We talked about it here with their big performances against the Sultans and went on to win 38-20 last week. You see them celebrating here, Dave. They had the interviewer, of course, one of their players did the interview after the game. They were the featured player on the Pigskin Report, and she interviewed the players there after the game, did a great job, and then they all celebrated like they do, cheering on the victory there. So they win the Mayor's Trophy here, Dave. and go on to be a home team here. They're 5-5 against Mar Vista, 4-6. Mar Vista was that team, Dave, by the way, that I said they were the one team that finished. They did not finish in the top 64 ranked teams, but because they ended up winning the league championship down there in the Metro Pacific, they get bumped into the field of 64. And there was one team I won't call them out, but they did opt not to participate in the postseason. And basically that's what allowed Monte Vista to get in as the number 64. At least that's the way I read it. So West Hills, Dave, here against Mar Vista.
And there's another home game for West Hills. They continue towards the end of the season to have quite a few home games, and I think that contributes to W's. And you got the West Hills Wolfpack and another W, and I think it's going to happen against these guys. I think Joey's going to go, if he goes out there and has a game like he did on last week. I'm sure that we are going to have a. I'm just to say it. I think West Hill should win this by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they really should, Dave. Maybe Mar Vista, like I said, they were the team in the Metro Pacific that kind of got in there at the end of the season. So maybe they aren't really up to the standards here. They were ranked, I think, 74th, maybe in this, but somewhere 75th or something like that, and then got bumped. West Hills came in like 58, but Mar Vista did go 3-0 in their conference play. So they get this bid. You see them here because of their championship status. They even are seeded number 11 because Monte Vista is number 12. So like I said, Monte Vista was that team that actually was the beneficiary of it. And like I said in the show, Dave, I was like 5-5, and they finished 3-2 in conference. Here's what you can do, right? If you really wanted to settle down, and maybe all those guys can settle down, being mad at me because I think they're wrong. But maybe you could do this, right? Every team is in a league, pretty much. If you come in last in your league, maybe you don't go to the playoffs, right? If we're going to invite so many teams, there's only 64 of them here, and then a few more teams in Division 5 and 8-man. How about if you finish last, or you take a team that a bigger conference, maybe the last 2 teams don't get in your league, and then you divide it up a little bit. That'll avoid some of those maybe issues there, but you still got to deal with the strength of schedule. And here's the thing: if you get rid of that strength of schedule factor, then no one's going to want to play anybody. You're always going to want to play down. That's why you're rewarded for your schedule a little bit. Mar Vista ended up with a pretty weak schedule. Though they have a quarterback in Thomas. We've seen him, Peter Thomas, I believe his name is, 1,105 yards, 13 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. They run the ball a little bit more, maybe about a 3-2 ratio, and they do have a series of running backs. Nobody's really had a big year. They have Thomas is kind of a running quarterback. He also rushed for 6 touchdowns. They have a junior receiver that had 5 touchdowns and a senior receiver with 4 touchdowns. And we know West Hills has looked pretty strong here of late with Junior Leon. He's absolutely terrific right now, and one of the best players certainly in the Grossmont Valley League this season. You're fond certainly of Hamilton as well, but man, West Hills had a big game last week. Rosalino threw an option pass for a touchdown. They just looked terrific really against Santana in the Mayor's Cup game.
I'm assuming you're gonna take our West Hills Wolfpack.
Oh, did I not make the pick? Did I not make my pick? I thought it was. Yeah, look, the computers have them 18-point favorites here in this one, Dave. West Hills, they don't throw many passes, Dave. They are known for their running game. They run more than 2.5 to 1 with with Ryder Alexander. Let me clean it up too. Here's another one where I messed up, Dave. I called out the wrong name last week. Ryder Alexander had a big game last week for West Hills. Now, no excuse, Dave. I even said on the show, West Hills has silver numbers and white uniforms. I think my eyes are just getting old. They have blue numbers on those beautiful white uniforms. So shout out Ryder Alexander. He's actually been very, very strong here over the last couple of games. He rushed in last week's game for 97 yards. It was Hamilton, Dave, who rushed for 106 yards, but Ryder Alexander had 2 touchdowns. Edgar Junior Leon had a touchdown, and Braden Reed, the senior, he also had a touchdown reception in the game from Rosalino, who threw that option pass there last week. So it was a good performance, and the defense also performed pretty well last week, Dave. They had Leo Lugo. I did get that one right last week. He caught that interception off, I believe, a tip pass for West Hills. So I got the Wolfpack here, by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I said, by 14. And then your computer guys that go on and off strike, they did 18. Okay,
Dave. You've set it up nicely, bringing up my friends again. Look, I just was trying to be clear. I think the computers are very, very, pretty darn accurate. I think they've given us some nice tournaments here. Obviously, if this one is a close game, I would think the computers are doing their job. It is hard to ignore that Fallbrook is the number 5 seed here, Dave. Now, look, Fallbrook has been, well, you and I are old. Fallbrook was pretty great for a while there during our youth here. There's been some ups and downs, certainly here of late, but it was only last season they lost the championship game in Division III to La Jolla Country Day, 39-38. This year they had a tough schedule. There's no doubt about it. They lost to teams like Valley Center, La Costa Canyon, San Marcos, Del Norte, Rancho Bernardo, Mount Carmel, Ramona. Those are, look, if you put Monte Vista on that schedule, they're going to be close to Fallbrook. If you put any of these teams in division, if you put Santana, Kearney, Mar Vista, whoever you want to put on that schedule, Dave, they're going to lose a lot of those games, man. Fallbrook had to play this schedule. They're in the same league with San Marcos, Del Norte, all those teams. So it's just very, very tough. They're probably here, the computers rate Fallbrook, Dave, a 7-point favorite. And they're 0-10. The winner will play at Hoover. Want to mention real quick, Dave, winner of Mar Vista and West Hills will play at number 3 Crawford. Winner of this one at number 4 Hoover. Will it be our Monarchs? Hey, Dave, sometimes if you're losing, even if this, we've lost them all, we don't have that confidence, huh?
Yeah, that's what I got to say right here is we haven't even won a game, and then we got this other team coming from down in the east part of San Diego coming up. They won 5 games and lost 5. They're a 500 team. And you know what? This Monte Vista team, I think they could have won a couple of those games very easily, including one of our other playoff teams this week, the Fallbrook Comets.
And remember, the El Cap game, Monte Vista El Cap was a good game too, right? We know what happened there.
So this is a very stout defense with a running back that just won't. He's got a motor that just won't quit. We call his name. I mean, Alex is just Villanueva. The next touchdown, it's Villanueva. I mean, he's going to probably score. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game.
Oh, for sure. And he's coming off of another huge game day, by the way, in that game again. Remember, it was on Thursday, so we kind of recapped it. Let me see here. I got the notes here from that game. Had absolutely another blockbuster game last week, 278 touchdowns. No, that'd be good. 278 yards and 4 touchdowns in that win over Valhalla, 38-21 to finish 500. Dave, I talked with my favorite Monta Vista Monarch on social media. And he told me basically what I said. We're out. We're out because, they were probably going to be number 65. But
was that Kasim?
No, no, it wasn't. It was a old timer, Brett Fisher. If you remember some of the great championship teams here, but he keeps me informed on all things Monarchs. And basically, I think we concluded the same thing. They're out. They're going to miss by one team. But again, they're number 64 because of that. And like I said, Dave, 5-5, 3-2 in conference, kind of what I was saying about which team should make the playoffs. You finish 3-2 in your league. We've kind of structured the leagues here in the county where you're kind of playing. Look, Fallbrook ended up on a pretty bad situation having to play those teams this year. They might fix that. There are other conferences, they move these teams around. The North County Conference, right? The City Conference, the Grossmont Conference. They try to match up the teams in their conference in leagues that make it equitable. So if you can't beat those teams that are equitable, then maybe, just maybe, that's when you should be out of the postseason, right? You can't beat your little group of teams that you're in that are kind of in your community or area of the county, and maybe we could divide it that way. And don't even worry who play you want in your non-conference games. If you want to go against tough teams so you can build up yourself and be competitive for your league, you'll be play tough teams. If you want to go in with confidence, let's go play a soft schedule early so we can get a bunch of confidence and building wins, and then just measure them up against your league and take the teams there. You'll still need to rate the leagues a little bit. Maybe we'll have to get somebody else to do the ratings if they're not going to. We still know what the ratings are. I was just making fun of what Cal Preps had to say. Basically, they put it on their website, singling out San Diego's section as if there's a little bit of they're not they were disrespected. They felt disrespected the way the CIF, San Diego CIF section. Remember, they're all part of the CIF with different offices throughout the county, right? That's why we play for the CIF championship, the state championships, or whatever. Well, they just weren't too happy with how the section use their precious power rankings here. But, well, Fallbrook didn't seem to mind. In fact, their coach said, hey, we know we're a pretty good team. We know the schedule we played. We're going to take this opportunity. We're not going to say, no, thank you. We are in the playoffs. And not only are they in, they're hosting this game, Dave, against Monta Vista as the higher ranked team, fifth in the 12-team division, despite the 0-10 record. Like I said, they lost last year in the Division III championship game. And again, the format was a little bit different with all the teams already predetermined in their division prior to the season, whereas this year we've just, chopped it up, like I said. So, all right, yep, stop Alex Villanueva, and you'll get it done. And I'm taking the Monarchs, Dave. The Fallbrook Warriors are 7-point favorites, according to those my favorite computers. But I've got the Monarch. Yeah, a little bit of winning here, a little bit of Villanueva, and we saw how great the Monarchs have performed in. It's going to be close, Dave. I would imagine they would need, keep the ball, own the ball. I don't think they'll find as much success. Alex will find as much long distance success. We've seen him break off those runs, but he also can be a workman-like back here, Dave, a little bit when need be. Look, he'd like to run them all in, right? But that's not going to happen unless you're kind of going up against inferior defenses a little bit. We saw Alex, man, bust touchdown after, and we saw special teams too. You said Kasim, and we've seen Rashawn Florence. He also had an 85-yarder last week in that game, an 85-yard punt return in that game. So I think Monta Vista is all that, and I think they will find a way, Dave. They're going to win this one against Fallbrook on Friday.
I completely agree. I think I'm sure Coach has already instilled all of the confidence that he has in his team, and they're going to play Monta Vista football, which is always for how many years now has been from the trenches, and we're just going to beat you down until you fall over. And I think that's how they win. And they are going to beat Fallbrook by 7. You can take those computers and unplug them.
No, that's what they told me this week on the internet. But again, I think, look, given what I said, though, don't you think that look, they just played a schedule basically of the top 10 teams in the county, just couldn't beat them. What are you gonna do? The way I feel. All right, for the Warriors here coming in, Dave, they are a running team for sure. They run at a ratio of 4-1 here this season. Rushing, though, interestingly, for just about 117 yards per game and just 8 touchdowns. So not a prolific offense at all. So I think that does bode well for Monte Vista, because we know they can put up big yardage here. Again, this is the great measuring. It's almost like a special computer game, if you will, here with this one, right? Do they warrant the inclusion in the postseason here? They would have been out if you go with my little dumb formula of all the last place teams not making it. But you look at it here, like I said, they're expected to win. Okay, Dave, thank you. A great job here this week. One more thing I'll mention next week, Foothills Christian will get underway in the 8-man playoffs as well. And we mentioned those other teams getting buys this week. I hope we didn't forget too much here, Dave, with our previews this week, and we'll catch you tomorrow night or tonight. You might be watching this on Friday here. We've been tied up a little bit, Dave and I, so sorry we're coming at you late, but we got a great preview here with our 6 teams this week, Dave. You can get us on out of here and tell me anything else you want to say about the games tomorrow night.
Oh, I think they're just all pretty much. I don't see any blowouts. The only one I may be concerned about is Steel Canyon. They really have to have a prolific passing game or running game or a good combination for their offense, or it's going to be a long night. Other than that, I think all of our teams have a chance to bode well, and the East County get at least 90% wins.
Let's do it. Let's prove them wrong, Dave. Let's prove those computers wrong. Let's go, East County.
I'm always about that.
Yeah, and again, the one interesting thing about all those teams next week, I mean, obviously they got buys, but I mean, they are hosting games next week. So you do look at this week, we are hosting 4 of the 6 games. Like I said, the computers do have Kearney as a favorite by the ratings, but still, the Sultans are the 7th seed. I would guess that maybe they're expected a little bit to be the team to win. Maybe that's competitive, like I said, the 10-7 game, and we got that 8-9 game with Christian as well. But looks like we're supposed to win. So, hey, somewhere along the line, let's get a few upsets here and prove that we weren't as bad as they're making us out to be this season. Okay, Dave, go ahead, and our sponsor, and thanks again for everything.
Yes, sir. We will see you in less than 24 hours. And, well, maybe a little more, but should be an interesting
on delay, you know.
So should be some interesting matchups, and looking forward to it. Playoff time for the next, hopefully, even 5 weeks. That'll do it for tonight, folks. Thank you for joining us. For Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens, and we'll catch you tomorrow night for playoffs.
See you then.